Hey y'all, I'm Mandy.
I'm Carrie, and this is Monstrous. All right, episode 3.
Whoop whoop.
Are you ready?
Ready?
Listener discretion is advised. There is a trigger warning for suicide, stalking, and sexual extortion. Which sexual extortion is also sextortion. So it's extortion, but has a sexual element to it for anyone that does not know.
Right.
So I do want to recommend this episode for teens and young adults. Although we do have a trigger warning and a listener discretion, I believe this topic is very important for this age group, and I believe that they should be aware of it so that they themselves can ask for help if they're struggling or need someone to step in and help if they're going through the same thing like the victim in this case. According to statistics, Canada reported nearly 1 in 5 internet users aged 5 to 29 have either been cyberbullied or cyberstalked.
Wow.
A survey done by Pew Research Center between April and May of 2020 said 46% of teens reported that at least one type of cyberbullying had been experienced. Now, in 2024, these numbers have grown to be even worse. Over 60% of children and 40% of adults have at some point been a target of cyberbullies. So today, I'm going to tell you about one of these stories. The case for today is Amanda Todd. It is a story of how one choice made by a very young girl in the wake of the internet turned into not only cyberbullying, but also real life bullying, physical assaults, extortion, and ultimately suicide. I had several sources that I used, and those will be listed in the description as normal. But most of my information I got from Amanda's website that was founded by her mom, and that is AmandaToddLegacy.org. So, Amanda was born on November 27th, 1996. She was almost 10 days past her due date. She was born in Vancouver, British Columbia. That year, they got a ton of snow, and as she grew up, she was more and more captivated with it. Which, as a kid, myself, and I'm sure you were growing up in the South on the East Coast, we didn't get much snow. So when we got it, we loved it.
Right.
According to Amanda's website, before her birthday, every year she would watch the TV for a weather watch, looking for snow in the forecast. To me, it shows how just sweet and innocent she was. Something my kids every year do, even though we get snow and a ton of it every single winter. It's always, when is it going to snow? Hopefully never.
Most definitely.
From Amanda's website, you're able to learn a bit more about Amanda. She was passionate about singing, art, she loved animals, she loved doing acts of kindness, and her favorite color was purple. At the age of 15, her mom Carol gave Amanda her nickname, which was Princess Snowflake.
Aw.
I know, so cute. Love
That
it.
is cute.
The most adorable little nickname ever. So her website says that her mom called her this because she was a typical teenage girl. She wanted everything that she's seen on TV, that was advertised in magazines or on billboards. But because she was born in the winter, the nickname was perfect. Also on the website, her mom had recanted the conversation that she had had with Amanda about the nickname. And it's just absolutely adorable. So I want to say that this conversation, to me, says so much about who Amanda was. Because how many teenagers like their nicknames?
Right.
Like, I loved what my Aunt Debbie, my mama, and papa all call me. I liked those. The rest of them I couldn't stand. All right. So I'm going to put the trigger warning for suicide, self-harm, bullying, and sexual blackmail here. Because now that we know a little bit about Amanda, we're going to jump ahead to what leads Amanda to taking her own life. This is a story that captivated headlines and brought to light an issue that has been around since the early 2000s. It began in 2010 when Amanda was 12 years old and only beginning 7th grade. Like most kids her age, she was online meeting new people and chatting. She was born 2 years after I was. And I remember when AOL chat rooms and MySpace and really the internet became a huge deal. Like, every day after school, you're setting up and hooking up to your dial up so that way you can get on your AOL chat rooms and talk to your quote unquote friends,
Yeah,
It was a huge deal for kids our age at that time. And I'm
I
sure
remember.
you remember it.
Yeah, I do.
It was a big deal. It was like the coolest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us were aware of the dangers that came with it. I don't even think parents knew what dangers came with it at that point in time.
I don't think so either because it was so new.
Yeah, and you don't imagine someone getting on the internet and doing something like this or anything similar.
Right.
Nowadays it's normal, but back then it just wasn't thought of.
Mm-hmm.
So while in a webcam chat room with more than 150 other people, an unidentified man convinced Amanda to show her boobs. When she did this, someone within the room decided to screenshot the image. They then posted the image on a porn site.
Oh, God.
And if that's not bad enough, that image, along with the link to the site, was then sent to all of Amanda's Facebook friends.
Oh.
So this one act, something that so many teenagers do around the world every day, turned Amanda's life completely upside down. For this one action, Amanda was constantly receiving threats and hate comments in person as well as online. She was bullied, teased, and beaten up by other teens she was around every single day.
So sad.
Christmas Eve of 2010, Carol Todd received an anonymous Facebook message telling her that her daughter had become a victim of blackmail, and police showed up at Amanda's home at 4 a.m. confirming to her and showing her that the photo had been sent out to everyone. From there, the spring of 2011 rolls around and a man contacts Amanda on Facebook and tells her that he's going to post the pictures online unless she, quote, puts on a show for him. Now, remember, she was 12 when all of this started.
That's insane.
And this is going on nearly a year later. So she is about 13 at this point. That's 2 years older than my oldest son.
She's a baby.
Yeah. So Amanda moved towns and schools several times, trying to get away from it. But no matter where she went, the pictures haunted her. And the bullying just never seemed to end. Because of the online activity and what she was facing every day in her real world, Amanda began to struggle with depression and anxiety. When they both worsened, she began to experiment with drugs and alcohol and eventually self-harm to ease her pain. In the fall of 2011, staff members at Amanda's newest school were sent a topless photo of Amanda. Thankfully, these school staff members did contact the police. 10 months later, she received yet another blackmail threat through her social media. The bullying at school was nowhere near getting better. It got worse. One day at school, a girl threw her to the ground and then punched her several times in front of the entire school after the girl's boyfriend had led Amanda on and made her believe that he liked her, leading Amanda to hook up with him.
What the hell is wrong with people?
Yeah. Yep, it's just a bunch of teenagers. And it's like, kids will be kids, teenagers will be teenagers. But this is a whole nother level.
Right. It's just cruel.
Just tormenting her for something that I can guarantee most of these other kids did.
Right. She made a mistake.
The only difference is hers was out there for everyone to see.
Right.
Teenagers do dumb things, and she was a kid. She didn't know any better. She made a mistake. You don't need to torment them and make their life a living hell. Like, it had nothing to do with you to begin with.
Right.
It's awful. So after this, Amanda went home and she drank bleach in an attempt to end her life.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully, though, she was found and she was rushed to a hospital where they were able to save her. But the torment didn't end there. And this just gave her bullies another reason to ridicule her. On September 7th of 2012, Amanda took to her YouTube channel. She posted a 9-minute video entitled My Story: Struggling, Bullying, Suicide, and Self-Harm. I'm going to put this link in the description for anyone that wants to watch it. But I do want to warn everyone that it is hard to read everything that she has to say. You can clearly see the sadness on her face throughout the entire video. In this video, she tells her story and her experience with bullying on flashcards. In it, she talks about how she drank the bleach and trying to take her life, how she moved away to live with her mom, but even 6 months after the incident, they still wouldn't leave her alone. They were posting photos of bleach and ditches and tagging her in them. These horrible kids said she should try a different type of bleach, that they hoped she died this time and wasn't so stupid. They hoped that she would see it and kill herself. And all of these were coming from kids that she no longer went to school with, in a town that she no longer lived in.
Wow.
So these kids are just actively watching her social media, actively harassing her. She doesn't live there. She doesn't go to school with them anymore, but they're still continuing. For what purpose? I have no idea.
Just cruel.
Just I don't know, give them entertainment or something. I'm not really sure what the thought process with that whole thing was. I can't wrap my head around it in any way. Like, you shouldn't bully or harass anyone, but the girl moved away.
Right.
Why do you need to continue? It just makes no sense to me. So after this, she began counseling. She was put on antidepressants, but it doesn't appear to have helped because of the horrible people that were harassing and bullying her constantly. Her struggles continued. In the summer of 2012, she overdosed and was hospitalized for 2 days. And she tells this whole entire story within her video, which I'm going to send you now to watch. On the video, there is a warning when you go to watch it. It lets you know that it contains content that regards suicide or self-harm topics. So everyone knows there is a warning on that video as well. All right, I just sent it to your Facebook, Amanda.
Oh, she's such a cute little girl.
Oh, she's beautiful.
And she's just smiling. She got into drugs and alcohol.
All in an effort to just make her pain go away.
Poor girl.
Like, hearing the story is one thing, but then you actually watch her video and it just absolutely breaks your heart.
I know. She said she started cutting.
It's just heart-wrenching, especially with how young she is. It just makes it so much worse.
I know. Oh, she's crying.
The whole thing is hard to watch, but I think whenever she starts to get emotional is when it really hits you.
She took the blame for it. She said it was all her fault because she didn't want him to get in trouble.
Yep. That just says so much about that she would rather take the blame and everything get worse for her and him have any kind of repercussions for his behavior.
God, they were so mean to her.
Oh yeah, like saying that these kids were just a giant group of assholes doesn't even begin to cover how awful they were to her.
They should all be charged.
Oh yeah, I thought the same thing. Because if they wouldn't have done what they did, she wouldn't have taken her own. Because it was just no relenting. They just would not stop. And she was just a kid. And her parents tried to help her. They did what they were supposed to do. But they also didn't know how bad things were.
Wow. Oh, she showed pictures of her cutting her. Wow. That was sad.
Yeah, her parents, I know telling it doesn't really talk about them, but they tried. They put her in counseling. They put her on medication. They did right. They did what they were supposed to do. They tried to help her. But they didn't know how bad things were until after. Whenever they began to go through her social media, began to look through her devices, and they found everything. So that's why I said this case is one that I feel teenagers and young adults do need to learn about. Because if you don't ask for help, if you're not saying this is exactly what's going on, then you're not going to get the help that you truly need. So in the video, she has written on a couple cards. She states, quote, "I felt like a joke in this world. I thought nobody deserves this. End quote. Every day I think, why am I still here?" Things that no child at her age should ever feel like or should ever think. And I have to say, when I watched the video and I read those two cards specifically, all I wanted to do was just hug her. Like, it just broke my heart. So, a month after this video was posted, on October 10th, 2012, Amanda took her own life inside her Port Coquitlam home. I might have said that wrong. 9 days later, hundreds of people had heard Amanda's story, and they had gathered in more than 40 different cities to light a candle in her remembrance.
Oh, wow.
On November 8th, 2012, more than 600 people gathered at the Red Robinson Show Theater in the town that she lived in for a ceremony. And during this ceremony, I believe her mother had said it best about what her daughter had left behind. Quote, "A larger than life message has sparked the world and has made it open its eyes, its ears, and its heart." In July of 2013, two of the schools that Amanda had attended raised money to have a bench dedicated in her memory inside Settlers Park. On November 20th of that same year, a federal anti-cyberbullying bill was introduced, and this bill makes it a criminal offense to distribute sexually explicit images online without a person's consent. So even though Amanda's story is tragic, and it was a loss for her family, one that they will probably never be able to recover from, in the end, Amanda's story is the story that gave way to the creation to the federal anti-cyberbullying law. She left a legacy that people everywhere, all over the country, benefit from every single day.
Right.
Cyberbullying is an ongoing issue, and I honestly don't see it coming to an end anytime soon. Because even though many see this as an issue, the world as a whole does not see it as one. It's easy to get behind a computer screen, to fake a name, and in most cases, those that do exactly what was done to Amanda suffer no consequences for their actions. Because a lot of times, the perpetrator is not within the same country as the victim. However, this was not the case in Amanda's story. The man that started the downfall of Amanda's life was identified as 38-year-old Dutch citizen Aiden Coben.
What?
Yep. They were able to track his IP address and find out who he was. On April 17th, 2014, the RCMP announced charges against him in her case. He faced 72 different charges, which included storing child pornography, extortion, fraud, making and distributing of child pornography, internet luring, and possession of hard drugs.
Good.
In his trial, it was revealed that Amanda was not his only victim, and some of his victims had been abused by him for years. In 2017, Coben was convicted and sentenced to 11 years in a Dutch prison for fraud and the blackmail cases, which involved many young girls and gay men.
Wow.
Amanda's story has exposed an ongoing issue within the social media world. It made people realize the effects of bullying and how one mean comment or post could cause someone to do the unthinkable. As a society, we continue to share stories like Amanda's in order to spread awareness and prevent the horrific outcomes of cyberbullying, cyberstalking, bullying, and sextortion. I want to leave everyone with this. If there's one thing that you take away from Amanda's tragic story, it is to remember that your words are powerful. And even though we underestimate how much words can truly mean, we must treat people around us with respect because we don't know what someone else is going through or what they're struggling with silently. Nobody deserves what Amanda went through. And as one, we must do everything that we can to ensure her tragic story is never repeated. Inside the description, along with all of my sources, I have Amanda's YouTube video, her legacy page, and a list of documentaries that have been made about Amanda's story. Lastly, I've linked a website to help anyone in need in any situation, be it suicide, domestic violence, or sexual assault. The helplines on this site are able to help with a range of mental health and emotional struggles. When you get to the main landing page on this link, you simply select your country, select what it is you need help with, and the site will give you details on how to contact either by phone, email, or text with one or multiple helplines.
The sad story.
Yes, it was. I don't know. It was one of those. It was more hard to do because I'm a mom myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
This was the same time and era that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard to see that, she's 2 years younger than I myself am. I was a senior. I was graduating high school when all of this was going on in her life.
Right.
So to know that made it pretty difficult to write it and get through it. You know what I mean?
Well, and then look at that. We've got boys that
Oh.
play games where they get to talk to people, and it's
Mm-hmm.
grown people. And I've heard how when my daughter plays the games, how some of these people that are grown talk to these little kids,
Oh yeah.
like the names that they say and then the stuff they say, and you find out that they're adults that are our age or older, the way they talk to these little kids.
Yep. Logan, he'll because we've had this discussion with both of them, but especially him because he's getting close to the age that Amanda was
Mm-hmm.
at the time that everything happened with her. And so we've talked with them, but not in like this explicit detail. You know what I mean?
Right.
So him, if they're playing the game and there's somebody talking like they shouldn't be, he kicks them out of their server.
Yeah.
Yep, just is like, nope. Or if they're being mean or hateful or saying things to either him or Dax that they shouldn't be, he kicks them out. It's like,
Yeah.
nope, we're not doing that.
Yeah. It's crazy how they talk on there. Bryson was on the game the other night, and there was a little girl that was in there with him on Roblox, and somebody was being mean, and he got him out of there to another little girl that was on the game. Like, it's crazy
It's
how they
awful. And most of
talk.
the time it's not it's the adults behaving that way. It's not the other kids. It's the grown adults or it's
Yeah.
the older teenagers. And it's
Hmm.
I get you're grown, you're allowed to talk that way, but at the same time you have to be aware and conscious of the fact that there are children that play these games as well. And in my head, if you can't speak and act appropriately when you're playing online with other kids, then maybe you shouldn't be playing at all.
Yo. But that's the thing. People get behind a keyboard tough.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They say stuff that they wouldn't say in real life.
Yep.
They
And
say it.
exactly how it goes.
And there's a lot of people that's been bullied and has committed suicide because of cyberbullying. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cases out there with it that's happened. There's a girl that's going viral. Her mom's going viral right now because her daughter was cyberbullied on
Yep.
TikTok.
Yep.
And
There's and a lot of people are like, oh, it's not that bad. You don't know how bad it was. Like in Amanda's case, that's where it did start. It did start online, but then it bled into her real everyday life. And those kids are the ones that they just wouldn't stop. They wouldn't leave her alone. And it kept getting worse and worse, so bad that she was physically assaulted.
right. Yep. And I
And
think
just
everybody should be charged.
oh yeah, there should be some kind of consequence for it because I believe that because she was a kid, she didn't know what else to do.
She made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes.
Exactly, and you won't let her live it down. She moves to a different town, moves to a different school, and you're still harassing her. You're still doing the same things, and not only that, you don't know what someone's dealing with in their own personal lives. You don't know how their home life is. You could be making it worse.
That's why I always tell Bryson, it doesn't matter what somebody wears, what somebody looks like. You don't know where they come from or
Exactly.
what's going on at home. The kid that sits at lunch by themselves or sits on the bus by themselves or something, just you smiling at them or waving to them or saying hi might make them have the best day ever.
Exactly. And I've told both my boys that, I don't condone fighting simply to fight. Somebody
Right.
says something to you, they say something to you, you don't have to stay in there and listen to a single word that they say. You walk off.
Right.
But if someone puts their hands on you, you defend yourself. If there is someone being bullied or someone that is not able to defend themselves, you step in and you defend them. I don't care what anybody else says.
Yep. Well,
Because
Bryson.
someone has to defend that kid, and if adults aren't going to do it, then you need to step up and do it.
Yep. Exactly.
So, oh man, that was a
That's
little
sad.
bit of a rough one, but
Yeah.
I felt like it was a topic that needed to be discussed, needed to be, brought back up, and especially with, now kids have the online games, and there's TikTok now and all that other stuff.
I agree.
Feel like it's definitely something. And then, the newer generation are more into all the internet stuff than, we are, obviously.
Well, everything's on your phones now or on PlayStation or all that stuff.
Yep. So I felt like it was one. It was rough. The topic is pretty hard, but I felt like it was important.
Yeah. That was a good.
And that is the story and legacy of Amanda Todd.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Watch for monsters.
And don't kill people.